enter the Browns. Now, between the Bengals and the Browns, I've got more faith in the Bengals to turn it around because, number one, we've seen them do it before earlier in the year, but nevertheless. And the Browns, I don't know where they are right now. I don't think they know where they are right now. They've gone from 40-1 to 400-1, and that's still a bad bet. I mean, the chances of the Browns, and watch, I'm probably laying the foundation for the Browns to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
The chances of the Browns digging out of this at this point, especially unless they change quarterbacks, I don't get it. Here's Kevin Stefanski, coach of the Browns, from yesterday on his starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and the rest of the team's offense.
This is not a one-person type of deal. When we're playing how we're playing on offense, we need everybody to do their job and do their job better. And I look at myself and how I can do that. But I believe in Deshaun. I believe in what he brings to this offense, and I believe he will play better.
Just what changes are you considering to get this offense going and on track?
Yeah, I think we have to look at everything, Daryl, how we put it together, really just take a long, hard look at what we're doing. And again, I think it goes back to any success on offense comes from giving the guys a plan that they can go execute at a high level. I believe in the coaches we have. I believe in the players we have, and we will get it fixed together.
I mean, look, and this becomes the common thread for so many teams. Offensive line issues, offensive line injuries. It makes it impossible for your skill position players to do their jobs. And that may be the core of any offense that is struggling currently. But they don't have Nick Chubb. Well, they didn't have him for most of last year, and they made it to the playoffs,
Yep.
and they looked like a team that could make a run, even though they ultimately didn't. They didn't bring back Joe Flacco because they couldn't, because he'd be starting right now if they'd brought him back. They added Jerry Jeudy, but again, if you can't get the passing game going, it doesn't matter. Amari Cooper's still there. It doesn't matter. And at some point, if the operation just isn't working, the only change that you can make to give the operation a kick in the butt is at quarterback. Just for something different, just for a spark. We hear that all the time. We need a spark. Well, you're not going to get a spark from a new left guard. You're going to get a spark from a new quarterback.
And I agree with Stefanski. It's not all on Deshaun Watson. I fully understand that it's the NFL. It's football. There's 11 guys who take the field together. It's never going to be on just one guy. But like you said, it comes down to the results aren't what we want. We're not doing what we need to do on offense. So how do we change that? What is one way to change that? And I think for them, it's switching the quarterback. It's deciding, hey, maybe if we put Jameis Winston in there, it'll give us a little bit of a spark. 2021, 2022, whatever year it was, where we were in New England and you take out Mac Jones and you bring in Bailey Zappi. Even in a game we played Chicago, it gave us a spark. We ended up losing. It didn't work out, but it gave us a spark. And the coaching staff decided, like, hey, we need to do this to try to get a spark, to try to get something going. And I think Cleveland's in that boat right now where, yes, we understand it's not all Deshaun Watson, but to try to salvage our season, to try to get something going, this is the number one way we've identified is a way to get us going, to try to change something. Because other than that, I don't know what it is. Like Deshaun Watson, yes, he threw a ball to Jerry Jeudy in the end zone last week. Jeudy should have caught it. He dropped the ball. Like, we understand those things happen, but I don't know, is taking Jeudy out and putting a different receiver, I don't think that's going to be an impactful change to help them go out there and play better on offense. It's just, as you look at this team, the only decision that is to be made is putting Jameis Winston in there and seeing what kind of spark, what can Jameis Winston do to help this team, because guys on that team have spoken about his leadership and how he's approached this season, what he was able to do in the preseason for the younger guys. It just seems like, hey, why not give him his shot with this team? Because they have a good defense. Let's see if we can turn this around and start winning some football games.
And this is what Chris will call the politics of football, the idea that they made that massive investment in Deshaun Watson with 3 first-round picks, 3 other picks, $230 million fully guaranteed on a 5-year deal. You can't fold the tents. You can't give up. We can't admit that we made a mistake. We can't do this. You're paying him either way. You don't have to play him. Guaranteed contract doesn't guarantee playing time. You can try to make chicken salad and try to win football games. unless the goal is to just let it keep going, let nature take its course, and then earn the first overall pick in the draft, try to take a quarterback and have that quarterback say, I'm not coming there. I got my NIL money. Nope, I'm not signing the contract with the Cleveland Browns. So I agree with you completely. And it's not all on Deshaun, but that's the one area where when it's not working, and it, as Jason Garrett said on Sunday, it doesn't have to be temporary or permanent, it can be temporary.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to fire him. You're still paying him. You're paying him for 2 more years. You're not going to fire him. You're just giving him a step back and trying to get something going, and then maybe at the appropriate time he comes back in and everything's settled down.
And the last thing I would say, and I think this is where ownership has to come into play. Like, you're the ones on the hook for paying this contract. It's okay to come downstairs, knock on Kevin Stefanski's office and say, hey, coach, I'm not telling you what to do. But if benching Deshaun Watson is what you want to do and you think it can help, you have our support. We support that. We back it. Because then it takes the pressure off the fans. And I have no idea how the Browns organization works. But I just know ownership is usually what everyone says, hey, they don't make decisions. They're just the owners. You're the owners. It's your team. So if there's a way that you can help the team, I think this situation seems like it would really help if the GM, whether it's Berry, whether it's Stefanski, if they knew, like, hey, we're on the hook for paying this guy, but hey, ownership has our back and making the decision to make this team better. Because I think that would essentially make this an easier decision for Stefanski.
The owners are always involved, and they like to have someone else who takes the blame when the decisions go badly, except for Jerry Jones. And I respect him because he owns it. I'm the GM. I can't fire myself. Sorry, people. I'm in charge of this team. A lot of these owners, I'd say most, if not all of the owners, are involved at some level. And you can't, could you imagine benching a guy they paid that kind of money to and gave up that much for without getting the approval of ownership? That's what got Brad Childress fired by the Vikings in 2010 when he dumped Randy Moss and called him a programmatic non-fit. I still don't know what that means 14 years later. He had full control over the roster, but you still need to let the person who can fire you know how you're using control over the roster. So, yeah, owners are involved. And I said this yesterday, Devin, dysfunction comes from the very top of a football team. And also, if it's going well, it comes from the very top. You have owners who know how to hire the right people and get out of the way except for the really big stuff. And then you have owners who can't let go and think that they can fix everything. And because I was successful in this business, that means it all translates to football. And if I work really hard and if I want it bad enough, I'll get it, like David Tepper. And Jimmy Haslam falls closer to the Tepper side of the spectrum. We've seen it for the past dozen years that he's owned the team in Cleveland. All right. By the way, DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code PFTLive when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. And thanks for the odds that we mentioned earlier as to the Bengals and Browns' chances of winning the Super Bowl both before the season and now. There was an item of news last night, and this was one of those moments where, and first world problem, I don't know. Complaining about your cool job, I don't know. But I will tell you the story, Devin. Yesterday morning, and I know we're already over time, but I'm at the NFG stage of my career too. So the game goes till 1 o'clock. The alarm goes off at 5:30. PFT Live. I snuck in a 45-minute nap before I went to the airport. Travel all day, get home. Your reward for getting home when you do what I do is get your ass back to work. Got back to work. My wife had to run a few errands. Got home. We're going to have dinner. It's like, yeah, I'm going to have dinner, relax a little bit, and then go watch the Monday night game. So as soon as I sit down, I mean, the fork is in the air. I get the phone call about the settlement of the Deshaun Watson lawsuit, and here's our statement, and this is news. So it's like, shit. I had to, honey, I'll be right back. And so run into the room and type up the story, copy, paste, snarky comment, as Chris would say. But this was the news from last night. And I felt this coming. because it was the Monday after the regular season opening day that the lawsuit was filed against Deshaun Watson. And my understanding of his contract, and I got it, I read the whole thing. It's like, well, this guy, he may have a problem here. This may be the get-out-of-jail-free card for the Browns. Because if he gets suspended again, and if he didn't disclose this claim to the Browns in writing before signing his contract, they can rip up the remaining guarantees. And I remember saying at the time, I don't want to be cynical about this, and I don't want to. I mean, I understand these are serious allegations, but once it goes into the legal system, it takes on a different life of its own. It becomes something that is the subject of potential negotiation. It has a cash value that gets attached to it. That happens all the time. Horrible injury accidents, wrongful death, somebody gets run over by a truck, medical malpractice, wrongful discharge of employment, sexual assault, anything that results in a civil lawsuit can be resolved. And it got real quiet. And I was saying in the viewing room on Sunday, I think I was telling Fred Godelli this, I got a feeling that case settled. Because last we heard, the alleged victim's going to meet with the NFL, and we haven't heard anything more about it. And the smart move, you got $92 million riding on it, you treat it like a business transaction, and you resolve it. And lo and behold, it's been resolved. And it tells me that, number one, there's not going to be any cooperation with the league, and the league can't do much of anything to Deshaun Watson if the alleged victim won't cooperate. Number two, he probably was looking at the loss of $92 million if he got suspended over this. And number three, did the smart thing. Look at how they fought the other cases. They fought him tooth and nail. This one, it doesn't even get off the ground, and it's settled. That's the news. It's settled, which means whatever would have happened next, he's probably not facing another suspension, which means the Browns aren't going to have an easy out from the last 2 years of this contract.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if this helps him even on the football field, because that's a lot going on in your life where, you know, obviously everything that happened prior to this, and it seemed like he had settled that and moved on. And then this one pops up out of nowhere, and now he's back into, you know, addressing it in the media, talking to a lawyer every single day or every other day on the phone to address the issue. So moving on from it seems like maybe it can help him on the football field. But again, every time this comes up, it's just a situation that I know the league has to be sitting there saying, like, why do we have to keep dealing with this situation? And it's unfortunate because it is, when you get in these situations, it's, you know, her story and his story, and it's a back and forth. And it's just, and I think from the public eye and the fan perspective, you never get anything out of this anyway. It settles. You never hear another word about it. You don't know what happened. Was it true? Was it not true? It just all kind of goes away because you settle it with money. You sign some NDAs and it's all done. So now I think from a football standpoint, it's just, it goes into, what do we get out of Deshaun Watson? Like, is he now free of this? Can he go play football? Or, like life in so many different ways, this stuff doesn't just leave you no matter what. All of these things that continue to come up, and someone says this and that, and it just seems like it's had a huge impact on his career that you sit here and wonder, are we ever going to see the Deshaun Watson that we saw in the past? Or has all of this stuff and the time away from football just weighed him down?
And here's one last point I'll make, and then we need to take a break. If he had been suspended by the league, remember, there's a new procedure where the league proposes a suspension and there's an independent party that determines whether or not a violation occurred and what the punishment should be. And the appeal rights for the NFL back to the commissioner are limited only to the extent of the punishment, not the facts, as the retired judge, Sue Robinson is her name, who handled the Deshaun Watson case 2 years ago, would find them to be. She concluded, and there were 4 different cases that were presented, four of the more than 20 individuals who had accused him of wrongdoing testified, told their story. I don't even know if they testified, but their story was told. And at the end of the day, she concluded Deshaun Watson was not credible in one or more respects. So when you already have the person who's making the final decision express concerns about the believability of your version, you don't want to go back there in another he said, she said. When the person who's making the decision already has misgivings about whether and to what extent you're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Devin, you don't want to go back there.
That's true.
Because it's probably not going to end the way you want it to. So all the more reason. And again, I know it makes people, I get it. I lived in that world for 18 years where a horrible thing happened or allegedly happened, But now it becomes something that has a potential price tag on it as part of the administration of justice. That's just how it works. The case is either going to go to trial and a jury's going to attach a dollar value to what happened, or we're going to come up with a way to resolve it ahead of time. That's what it became. That's what it was. And now everybody moves on. And you're right. We'll see if having this cloud pushed away will make a difference for him on a football field. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.